and explore people's resources. By resources, I'm referring to their stories, their narratives. And those anthropologists, they would go there, at times not actually informing the participant what they were doing there and what they would be doing in the stories, right? So they would go there, somehow found ways to entice the participant to be involved in their research, right? And then they would leave. They would leave. Come to the West, publish books, publish articles to advance their career at the expense of people's stories. You see? So whereas when you are doing PAR, you don't do that. Because the participants are the experts. They are the experts. You are not the expert, even though you may have 2 PhDs, but they're going to be telling you what to do. They're going to be involved in the process. They're not just going to be there listening to you, listening to your order. They're going to co-construct knowledge with you. And you have to be able to go on the ground with them. You see? It cannot be a study where you are sitting on the balcony, right, contemplating the masses. No, you have to go get down from where you are, be on the ground with the masses. You have to get messy. You have to be wherever the action is taking place. You see, and that's the beauty of participatory action research, which Dr. Perez and Reyes calls PAP, research like praxis, partly because it has been co-opted in the West. You see, participation action research has been co-opted. It has been misused by Western researchers, right? They don't really take into account the stories, the narratives that the participants, are sharing with them. They don't really place enough value. They don't attribute enough values to the stories that the participants are sharing with them. And again, I'm going to emphasize and repeat that in participatory action research, the researcher and the research are partners. There isn't an unequal power, there shouldn't be an unequal power relations where I am the knower and you are the person on whom I'm going to pour the knowledge. Does that make sense? On whose head I'm going to pour the knowledge. Instead, it's a research where people are on equal footing. And it's not easy to do. It's not easy. I mean, how do you ensure that you as a researcher doesn't, in a way, oppress the researched? How do you ensure that you make your participants feel that they are part of this? We are in this together, right? We are co-constructing knowledge. How do you do that? It's not easy. Even in a classroom, in my classroom, I try to make it as democratic as possible. But I know there is an unequal power relations. Because I tell you, basically I tell you what to do. I design the syllabus. I tell you what book you should be reading. So as much I would like to believe it's a very democratic process, but it's not. Because I'm telling you what to do. Democracy is about participation, equal participation. Well, likewise, in participatory action research, there should be equal participation, equal involvement. But how do you ensure that occurs when you are doing research? It's not an easy thing to do. I mean, I love PAR. I love it. And even RAP. Both. I mean, they're not really certified. But how do you ensure that you actually do it the way you say you are doing it? I mean, it's one thing to talk about something, but it's another when you're actually putting it to practice, right? This is why I love Paulo Freire's equation, right? So you can talk about, and I'm going to begin with the word praxis, right? Praxis. How do you ensure that praxis occurs? How do you do that, right? So basically what it is, okay, thank you. How do you get to praxis? How do you get to praxis, right? You begin with critical, well, you begin with the theory, right? That's what you begin with the theory. theory helps me understand what's happening around me, right? That's what theory does for you. It helps you understand, it helps you name things. It helps you understand what's going on, right? But understanding what's going on is not enough, right? I mean, I can understand what's going on in this classroom, but if I just stay there, I don't go beyond that, how change will occur? So the second step would be is action. So when you have those two combined, when you can make those two combine, and what's the end result, is praxis. So praxis is the result, it stems from theory and action. And that's exactly how or RAP is all about. It's all about praxis. It's not just doing stuff for the sake of doing research. It's doing just to affect social change. But how do you affect social change? By simply theorizing. By simply reflecting. So you reflect. Okay, you theorize, you reflect. But if you only stop there, then there's nothing. So in order to get to this level, you have to act. So okay, you theorize, you reflect, then you act. When you do all of this, it leads you to praxis. Does that make sense? And that's basically, essentially, that's what power is all about. I mean, I'm just giving you, synthesized version of power. And there's a lot more involved in it. And
I'm sorry. What is the so one is participation, action, research. What's the other one?
Research is practice.
Research is
practice. Research is practice.
I thought so, but I was just checking.
Yeah, it's okay. So basically, that's what it is about. Okay, you theorize, you reflect, then what do you do next? Then you take action, and when you take action, that's praxis, and that's what PAR does. It doesn't simply researchers who embrace PAR as a methodology, and even as a method, don't simply theorize, don't simply reflect, they simply just talk. They take actions. And when you take action, that's praxis. That leads to praxis. Okay? All right. One or two more questions. I would like to talk about those.
Quick
Yes.
example. Okay, Scientific American had an author, went into the New Guinea jungle. They showed this person how you make a stone axe and cut down a tree with it. My God, what great knowledge. The researcher got everything out of it. What did the guys who made the stone axe get out of it? And why did they do it for him?
Huh.
We're co-generating knowledge together. I'm getting all the benefits because you're telling me valuable stories. What can I give you in return as the subject of my
I'm just
research?
confused. Are you referring to the research and the researcher and the research?
I'm talking about praxis.
Mm-hmm.
We're co-generating knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm getting the best of it. I'm getting the knowledge.
As
from
what?
you.
As a researcher or as a researcher?
As the researcher. And so what can I give the other guys?
But how do you
that's
know,
equally valuable?
how can you assume you're getting the knowledge, you're getting the best out of it? How do you assume that? If you
I
have
disagree with that.
Because they're telling me all kinds of new things.
No. Then you're not co-constructing knowledge. If you feel like you're getting the best out of it, and the participant or the research is not, then you're not co-constructing
That's what I
knowledge.
mean. What can I give that
But
person
wait,
as valuable?
it's a
as
collective process. It's a collective process. It's a collective. It is a collective endeavor. So you as a
I agree,
researcher.
it has to be, but what can I possibly give that
Wait,
person?
may I?
Yes, interview, please.
Okay, so consider, I'm just going to use the movie The Help, right? So the woman went in and she had these women tell their stories. Well, as a result of them telling their stories, I mean, I don't even know if that was true. I'm just making a point. Let's say it was. The fact that they told their stories was the beginning of change, and what did they get out of it? Hopefully they're not in the same exact, I mean, we're not at the end of the journey yet, but we have made progress. And a lot of that is because they were given space to have a place to talk. And so, yeah, I get your point. Yeah, I'm getting to learn all this stuff, but you're also doing them the, whatever the word is.
You create the
of
framework
putting it
for
out
them.
there
You
for
create the
them.
framework. Yeah. I'm gonna use an example before I go. Please, but before I do so, please go
That's
ahead.
okay.
Please go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say that when you go into a community, you can't go in with an idea, a theory, but you have to open it up to them to to construct the problems that they want to have worked on. And it may blow your theory out of the water. It may not be what you thought, but whatever they decide on, that's the direction that you have to go. And so then you try to make something happen based on the needs that they have. So they're benefiting. You're getting some information, but it's.
But I don't have much to give them. I mean, what knowledge do I have?
You don't give them anything but a space where they can share knowledge with you, they can co-construct knowledge with you.
They change.
This is where we need to have a shift in the paradigm in terms of how we understand research. Because you keep saying, why do I give them? What they get from me? It's not about taking, it's about doing together. Okay, that's what it is. I'm going to use two examples briefly because I really want to start a conversation about your final project. I'm going to use Cesar Chavez as an example. Although I would doubt that he saw himself as a researcher, right? Well, the farmers, before he started working with the farmers knew what was going on. They knew what was going on. They knew that they were being exploited, right? But they did not have someone who could help them have a platform where they would tell their stories and come to voice. So they were experiencing all forms of oppression, right? And they knew exactly what was going on. And then when Cesar Chavez started working with them, he and them together created a movement. They shared stories. They shared the story. They shared the stories, right? Chavez, as a leader, did not just go there and say, I'm going to tell you what to do. No. He and the farmers figured out what was needed, what was needed to be done. So it was a collective effort, right? Likewise, Paulo Freire, when he started working with the peasant, I don't want to use the peasant, I'm saying farmers, right? In Brazil, the farmers knew exactly what's going on, but they did not have the language to name their oppression. So what Paulo Freire enabled them to do is to co-construct the language with them so that they could name the oppressions, so that they could develop a high level of awareness about what was going on in their own communities, right? So Paulo Freire began with dialogue, right? Started theorizing. But he didn't stop there, he went beyond. Okay, he was reflecting with them, reflecting on whatever was happening, analyzing whatever was happening. But they did not stop there. They took action. Because they took action and they were able to see praxis of whatever they were involved in. Does that make sense? So that's what you do when you are a researcher that believes in being involved with the participants, being in the ground with participants, as opposed to sitting in the balcony, looking at them, contemplating what they are doing downstairs. Yeah. Instead of staying in the balcony, you go down and say, hey, wait a minute, let me be part of the crowd.
Get on the stage
exactly.
Instead of watching from the balcony.
That's exactly exactly what Paul and rap are all about. So of course, our expert, Dr. Torres, will be here, hopefully with one or two of advisees to sort of give you more better insights about Paul. I'm not an expert on Paul, but I'm quite familiar with it. Okay, so that's basically it for the chapters that you read for today's class. And I can take one more question briefly before we start talking about your research.
Yeah, just in that interview, and it's very good method for doing research. But my question is, are we going to learn about how to come up with the interview questions? Is the technique thing at technical level? Right,
but the chapter sort of gives some tips. So your interview questions will depend on what's the focus of your research, what exactly you're doing. I mean, I cannot tell you what question you should come up with. It will depend on what's the goal of your research, what is your goal, what are you trying to accomplish, what exactly you're trying to explore, and that will determine what type of question you should be asking. So I cannot give you a recipe. Rather, I can have a conversation hopefully that would help you figure out how to phrase your questions. Does that make sense? Your research questions. I cannot tell you, oh, this is the question you need to be asking, or...
I know.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
just I'm guidance.
Okay.
Yeah, what I would say to her is that, like, I don't know if you remember one of the readings where, like, they were telling us that sometimes you come up with a set of questions and then you do some interviews with them, and then you redesign them because you're not. So I guess that's the part that you're referring to. How are we going to design the methods or the instruments, let's say?
Right.
Is that what you meant?
Right.
Yeah, it reminds me of that. Yeah, I read that.
And we have talked about that in class last week we do before. Your questions doesn't have, may have to be modified depending on what you find out in your preliminary analysis of your data.
But it's not to induce the informant to follow your point, but it's their point of view, not ours. It's this strategy that you have to find. I think in ethnography you're going to see this, right?
Say it again?
Ethnography, that we have some strategies not to impose our point of view, so we can extract the subject from the informant, and then that's why you have to rethink about the initial point.
Right. This is the beauty of, this is exactly the beauty of qualitative research. It's like embarking on a journey, and you don't really fully know where it's going to take you, and you have to allow yourself to go with the journey. I mean, really go in open-minded.